Hi everyone, welcome back to Hackdoor. This is where we talk about cybersecurity. So in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can install Tenable Nessus on your local machine to scan for vulnerabilities and weaknesses in your IT systems, networks, and applications. So Nessus is a super powerful and a very popular vulnerability scanner, and it was developed by Tenable, and it basically identifies any vulnerabilities or weaknesses in your IT systems, networks, and application. So the way it works is it scans the target and compares its configuration to a vast database of known vulnerabilities and also reports on issues such as missing patches, misconfiguration, weak credentials, right? So IT professionals or cybersecurity experts can always use it to proactively find and fix security flaws before attackers can exploit them. So basically, you have to give a target, it will do the vulnerability scanning and also generate a report for you. Okay. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to download Nessus on our local system. So this is the download link. I'll also put that in the description for this video. So to make sure you copy the link from there. And here you can select your platform. Now I'm using Windows x86 64. So that's the platform I'm going to select. But in case you want to run it as a Docker, then you can also run it as a Docker image by using the command docker pull and then the Tenable repo link. So let's quickly click on download. So here you get a pop-up to agree to the license agreement, and we'll click on I agree. So remember, when we complete downloading Nessus, we are going to go for the free version of the scanner, which is Nessus Essentials. So let's wait for the download to complete. Okay, now as you can see, the download for Nessus has completed, and it is basically downloaded as an MSI file, which can be double clicked to start the installation process. So now you can see, the installation process has started. So we'll quickly click on next. We'll agree. And then this is the path where Nessus will be installed. If you want to change it, you can go ahead and click on change and change it, but I'll leave it to default. Okay, now we'll click on install and this will start the Nessus installation. Now, once Nessus completes its installation, it will also require a plugin update, and that is what we are going to do. So let's wait for the installation to complete. In the meantime, guys, do make sure you subscribe to our channel, which is Hackdoor. So we keep up coming with such videos, which is helpful for cybersecurity professionals and people who are trying to learn cybersecurity. So please make sure you subscribe to our channel. Now let's wait for Nessus installation to complete. We can see it's starting services and the installation has completed. We'll click on finish. Okay. So this will ask you to connect via SSL. Now it's going to use a self-signed certificate, so it doesn't really matter. So you'll get an error. So if you get this error, click on advanced and click on proceed to localhost. Now you can see Nessus is initializing. It might also ask us to create a local account. So please feel free to create a local account using your email ID so that you can also get an activation key. All right, so now we can see we have the welcome message. Okay, now we can either register offline or continue to register right now. So I would recommend to click on continue so that we can do a quick registration and start with our vulnerability scanning activity. So here you can basically go for Nessus Essentials. Okay, so this is a free version of Nessus, as it says, for educators, students, and hobbyists. Okay, so we'll go ahead and install Nessus Essentials. So you can put in your first name, last name, and your email. So I'll put it as okay. Now I'll click on register to get my activation key. Okay, so you can see this is my activation code. Okay, and I'll click on continue. So now just enter your username and password. So let's just keep it as hacked maybe. Okay, let's submit our username password. Make sure you remember this. Okay, now you'll see Nessus will try to download the plugins. Now plugin download and configuration updation, everything will happen before you can get access to starting the scan. Okay, so we let the plugins update. Now this can take anywhere between 20 minutes to maybe 1 to 2 hours, depending upon your system configuration and your internet speed. Okay, so I'll just let this download complete and we'll be back when we have the download of these plugins completed. Okay, so now you can see the Nessus console is open and it says that the plugins are compiling. Nessus functionality will be limited until the compilation completes. So that is completely fine. But somehow, we just have to wait for it. Let's just do a quick refresh. Okay. So as you can see, it's not giving us an option to run a new scan. Okay. But we are logged in. Okay, so now it says welcome to Nessus Essentials, right? So the plugin compilations are done. You can see that right here. And now we can start running our scans. Okay, so before I enter a target and run a scan, let me also explain the Nessus interface to you so that it becomes crystal clear to you, how you can run your own scans, be it for personal use or be it for your organization. So we'll close this dialog, and right here you see the Nessus interface. Now here, what you can do is you can, if you want to start a new scan, you can just click on new start new scan, and this will help you to configure the new scan. Okay, so let's go ahead. So here you can see we have some predefined templates for scans, right? So we have a host discovery scan, which will simply see if the host is up or not and look for its open ports. This is a ping discovery only, less noisier, right? Then you have a basic network scan, which is basically a full system scan suitable for any host. A credential validation scan, which basically checks the host for credential pairs on Windows and Unix if they can successfully authenticate against it or not. Okay, so that's a credential validation scan. Maybe if you want to run a scan, something that runs after you are authenticated on a web application or a Windows system or a Unix system, then you can just do a quick credential validation before you run any kind of scan. So this will just validate the credential, not really check any security things. Now you have advanced scan, right? Advanced scan is basically a very advanced scan which checks much deeper into the system, that what are the vulnerabilities, are there any default credentials being used, and how you can exploit it. Then you have a dynamic scan, which basically uses the dynamic plugin to scan without any recommendations. You can also run a scan to check if there is a malware on a Windows or Unix host, and a lot of other options are there, right? Web application, credential batch audit, Active Directory scan, AI LLM scan, right? And even a mobile scan if you upgrade to a paid version. So all these scans that says, for cloud audit or for PCI, right, these will run only if you upgrade to a paid package. Okay, since right now we are only using Nessus Essentials, so we see an upgrade option here. Now to demonstrate, I'll quickly run an advanced scan. So I will be running this advanced scan on a Metasploitable 3 VM. Okay, now Metasploitable 3 is basically an intentionally vulnerable host system. Okay, so this VM is intentionally vulnerable. It has a lot of services that are vulnerable, ports that are open. So we can basically run our scan to check this host for vulnerabilities. Since it's intentionally vulnerable, it is a very good candidate for practicing your security skills. So basically you can see here the IP address is basically 192.168.29.14. So that is what will be our target IP. So you can see targets. So we'll quickly enter 192.168.64.14. Okay, so let's quickly check if we enter the right IP. So yes, so it says 192.168.29. Okay, 29.64. Oh, it's 29.14. Perfect. Okay, so now we have the correct IP address here. So you can give a scan a name. So maybe this is demo advanced scan. Let's say advanced scan on Metasploitable 3 VM. Okay, This is good. In case you have multiple targets, when you are working in an organization, maybe you have 100 targets or 150 targets. So you don't need to run different scans for each of them. You can just add a comma and enter the next IP address here. Okay, so that can be done. In case you don't want to add commas and add IPs manually, then you can basically upload the targets using this add file option. Now, what this add file option does is you can upload a file with IP addresses, and all these IP addresses can be a new line in this particular file. Okay, so it can be a simple text file as well. So now Nessus also gives you an option to schedule a scan. So by enabling scheduling, you can run a scan maybe daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly. So let's say that you want to run a particular scan on a weekly basis, because that is sometimes a compliance requirement that you run scans for continuous monitoring. So you can select the time, at what time do you want to start the scan. Then you can also select the time zones. There are multiple time zones available. Then you can also repeat it maybe every week, every 2 weeks, right? So it's up to you how you want to set up the scan. And then you can also select the day of the week on which you want to run. Maybe I want to run every scan on Friday, right? So this says repeats every Friday 12 p.m. starting on Thursday. Okay, so today is Thursday, that's why it's saying that. But if you look at here, then it will start today. Okay, so you can also basically schedule scans, and trust me, this is very, very important when you're working in an organization for continuous monitoring of the vulnerabilities. So now I want to schedule an on-demand scan, so I'm just going to disable this. Okay, right now I don't want to. I just demonstrated how you can do it. Then on notifications, you can add email addresses of people you want to send the notifications when the scan was started, or when the scan is completed, or maybe also send reports. Okay, for this you need to set up an SMTP server, and that will enable you to send all these notifications over email. Next is host discovery. Okay, so this is basically scan options. Okay, so when we go to discovery, it says that how do you want to discover the host. So it has various options. Do you want to use UDP or not, right? Do you want to scan for printers, NetWare host, or maybe operational technology devices? So as per the requirement, you can explore these options, right, and try to understand. In case you don't want to ping a host because it's noisier and detected by intrusion prevention systems, you can disable this as well, but right now I'll let it be on. And if you want to set up any option within it, you can feel free to explore these options. If I explore every one of them and explain it, it will be a very long video. But if you need any help with a specific option, you can definitely post it in comments. I'll try to answer your queries as soon as I can. Next comes the port scanning. So basically you can give a port scan range. You can leave it to default, I would say, for an advanced scan. And these are basically, the services that you want to scan for. Okay. Then comes the option where you can also look at the SSL and TLS. Do you want to enable it or not for those services? For the scanning, then do you want to enumerate the SSL TLS ciphers? As you know that anything below TLS 1.3 is vulnerable. So definitely that is going to be a checked item. So these are by default, but if you want, you can enable more options. Okay. So I'll let the options be default. And then identity. Do you want to collect any identity data from Active Directory? So if you're on an Active Directory system, you have domain controllers, then definitely yes, you can check this up. Right now I'm just using a VM, I'm not an Active Directory, so I'm leaving it as it is. Next comes assessment, that how do you want to do the assessment? Do you want to override the normal accuracy, right? So this will avoid potential false alarms, right? If you want to do that, you can do that as well. Next comes the antivirus option. Okay, so antivirus definition grace period is also there. And then if you want to configure any SMTP servers, you can also do that. Then you have brute force, web applications. So I'll leave these options for default. Let me enable scan web applications, leave all options to default. For Windows, you can scan for SAM, ADSI query, right, which is basically Active Directory Service interfaces. Then you can look at WMI query, which is basically a Windows management interface for a remote host. Then you can also scan for malwares. So I'll enable this, let them scan for malwares, databases, if you want to detect any SIDs. And then you can also select, what kind of reporting you want to do. Okay, so whatever reporting options you want to do, you can select here. Maybe you want to display unreachable host as well, display the host that respond to ping. So maybe you can select these options if you want. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it to default for now. And these are some advanced options where you can look at the general settings. right? And these options can also be explored based on your requirement. So it's quite a long list. It will take a lot of time to explain it to you. And I don't want the video length to be too much, so I'll just leave it to it. And then in case you want to do some scanning within the host or API gateway, cloud services, right? Maybe databases, then you can select. So since we are using a Windows host, if I want, I can enter the Windows credentials, right? So I can enter the username and password, and this will basically try to, scan the Windows system after logging in as well. So it will try to do a remote login. Okay. So I'll just remove this for now. I don't want the scan to take too long. And then you have plugins. So these all plugins are enabled for the advanced scan. So you can see it's quite a long list of plugins, and these are basically plugin families, right? So it's a lot of checks that Nessus is going to perform for us. And do let me know if you want me to make a video on a authenticated scan on Windows as well. I will definitely do that for you, but you need to post that in the comment section, and I will make more Nessus videos for you. If you have any questions, you can definitely post your queries. So keeping the options to default, I will save the scan. Okay. Now, since the scan is saved, right? Now all we need to do is to click on this play icon or launch icon, and this will basically start the scan. And this green icon basically will tell us, if the scan is running or not. Okay. So it will take a while for this scan to complete. So I'll be back in a minute to show what vulnerabilities we have discovered. All right, so now you can see our scan is running and we have discovered approximately 57 vulnerabilities. Now, if you look at it, we have a couple of critical, high, some of them are mixed. So if you go to them, some might be high, medium, informational, right? So you can see we have found a lot of vulnerabilities here. Okay, so we'll skip the informational ones, but we'll definitely check out the high ones. So let the scan run, and in the meantime, when the scan completes, let's also verify a vulnerability. So let's select this one, which is bind shell backdoor detection. Okay, and you can see that there is a backdoor shell that is running on this machine without any authentication, and Nessus has basically run a command, ID, to understand, it is able to log in and get the permissions on it. So right here you can see on port 1524 we have a wild shell available on our machine that we are scanning. So let's quickly verify manually also. So here I have a Kali machine. So why not give the command netcat 192.168.56.101, and what was the port number again? 1524. So let's give that 1524, and let's see if we are able to connect. Amazing. Now you can see my shell has changed from Kali to root metasploitable. And let's give the command ID to check and verify. And we can see here that we get the same output as Nessus. Check this out, guys. Okay, so this is called manual verification. Okay, and we can see the number of vulnerabilities have increased from 57 to 66. And also we have verified this vulnerability, right? So that is what you do as a VAPT expert. You understand the vulnerabilities and how to basically verify them manually so that you don't send any false positive in the report. Although I think for most critical vulnerabilities, the confidence is high, so they should not come out as a false positive. Okay, so you can see vulnerabilities, and also you can see, it's using a VNC server with a default password, which is again a weakness, right? So we were able to use a VNC authentication plugin using Nessus, and the password was basically password, which is like a very poor choice for password. But then what can we say? This is an intentional vulnerable machine, and it has a VNC server running on port 5900 of TCP, right? And Nessus logged in using the password. So that's what Nessus helps us understand. Let's look at a couple of other ones. It says multiple issues in SSL, so it's basically using a bad version of SSL, right? So the X509 certificate for remote SSL, which contains a bug in the random number generator. Okay, and you can see Postgres and SMTP services are vulnerable because of this bad X509 certificate. So couple of interesting vulnerabilities coming out, right? And this is what Nessus helps you understand. So it basically automates the task of discovering the vulnerabilities. And here somewhere you can see a remediation section also. So it not only tells you what is wrong with the machines in terms of vulnerability, but it also tells you how to fix them. Okay, so it has some remediations for you as well. So I think we have a decent number of vulnerabilities, and I think the scan status is completed. So now what you can do here is you can manually verify the vulnerabilities if you want, or if you want to submit a report, you can just go here, click on report, and you can generate a report. Now the report formats supported are basically HTML, CSV, or any other format that you want. Okay, so this is a complete list of vulnerabilities by host. If you want a detailed list, you can also generate a detailed report as well. Okay, and then you have a detailed reports by plugin, operations, and whatnot. Okay, so these are some of the options that you can use to generate a report. Okay, now if you want to check the audit trail, you can also check the audit trail, right, for a particular plugin. If you want to change any configuration, then that's what you can do as well. But right now I'll let it to be the configuration because I don't want to launch it again. In case, if anybody fixes anything, right, and you want to do a rescan, then you can also launch it again. Okay, so if you just go back to my scans, then you can just relaunch it after the remediations have been done by the ITsec teams or any other teams that owns the resource, and then you can run this scan again. Okay, create a new scan once more if you want. Okay, and if you go here, then like I said, you can also export these results. Okay, so if you want to export it in Nessus format, then you can also export it in Nessus format. So it will export it into a Nessus file, you can see here, right? And this is what it does. Going back to the report, let's try to get an HTML report. Let's say I want the complete list of vulnerabilities, so detailed vulnerabilities by host. Okay, so I can select a preferred format also, okay, if I want. But right now I'll just go with detailed vulnerabilities by host, and let's say I want to generate a report. So this generates an HTML report, and if you look at it, it's a beautiful report that comes out, right? So says it's a demo advanced scan. So whatever title you put in is also going to come in here. Then you can see a list of vulnerabilities by host. So we added only one host, but in case we added multiple hosts, then that would also come. And we can see, critical 9 vulnerabilities, 6 high, 23 medium, 9 low, and 129 informational issues were identified. And here you can find a detailed list of the vulnerabilities. Okay, so that's what it is. It gives you a description, a solution as well, a risk factor, right, and a lot of other parameters for you to build a strong vulnerability update, right? And here you can see what the plugin output was. So what's the actual vulnerability, or a proof of concept is something that you can see here, right? And then comes the next vulnerability, and so on and so on. Okay, so this is a detailed list of vulnerabilities on Nessus. Now I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and this would help you in your VAPT learning journey. If you did, do hit that subscribe button to share it with your network so that they can also learn from it. And this is it for this video, guys. Appreciate you watching the video till here. See you in the next video.